The night my mother-in-law pushed my suitcase onto the porch and slammed the door behind me. Snow was falling so hard it blurred the streetlights. I remember standing there, one hand wrapped around my stomach, the other gripping the handle of a bag that suddenly held everything I owned. From inside the house, I could hear her voice, sharp and cold through the wooden door. "This child is not my son's problem. Leave." I was 24 years old and 5 months pregnant. I didn't know where I would go, how I would survive, or how I would raise a child alone. But what I did know, standing there in the freezing dark, was that one day, somehow, everything would change. My name is Amelia Hayes, and long before that night on the porch, I grew up in a quiet town outside Manchester, where the rain was constant and life moved slowly. My childhood wasn't glamorous, but it was warm. My dad worked as a mechanic and my mum cleaned offices late at night. Yet somehow our little kitchen always smelled like fresh tea and toast in the mornings. They taught me something simple: work hard, be kind, and life will eventually return the favor. As a teenager, I believed love would follow the same rules. Then I met Ryan during my second year of university. He was charming in that effortless way that made everyone around him laugh. When he looked at me, I felt seen in a way I never had before. Within 2 years, we were married, and for a short while, life felt like the future I had always imagined. But Ryan came with something I didn't fully understand at first. His mother, Diane, from the very beginning. She watched me with quiet disapproval, her eyes narrowing every time I spoke about my career or my plans. She believed her son deserved someone better, someone wealthier, someone who fit her idea of the perfect family. I tried to win her over. I brought flowers when we visited. I helped cook dinner. I laughed politely at jokes that weren't funny, but nothing ever softened her attitude. Then everything changed the day I told them I was pregnant. Ryan looked stunned, almost frightened, while Diane simply stared at me like I had announced a disaster. Over the following weeks, Ryan became distant. Phone calls turned into arguments, and arguments turned into silence. One evening he left for what he called a few days to think, and he never came back. Instead, his mother showed up at the apartment we shared and calmly told me Ryan had moved back home. I drove there that same night, desperate for answers, but when Diane opened the door, she didn't let me step inside. Her lips curled into a thin smile as she said words that still echo in my mind. "This family doesn't need your problems." And then she tossed my suitcase onto the porch and shut the door. I spent that night sitting on a bus bench under a flickering streetlight, trying to decide what to do next. Somehow, over the next months, I found strength I didn't know I had. I worked 2 jobs while finishing my degree, saved every penny, and prepared for the arrival of my son. The years that followed were hard, but they were also the years that shaped the woman I became. And 7 years later, on a quiet autumn afternoon, while I was sitting in my office overlooking the city skyline, my assistant walked in with a confused look and said something that made my heart stop for a second. "There's a woman in the lobby asking for you," she said slowly. "She says she's your mother-in-law." For a moment, I thought I had misheard her. The last time I had seen Diane was that winter night, when she shut the door in my face, while I stood there pregnant and alone. And now, 7 years later, she was standing in the lobby of the company I had built from nothing. I took a slow breath and told my assistant to send her in. When Diane walked through the glass doors of my office, she looked different, older, smaller somehow. The confident woman, who once towered over me now, seemed hesitant, her hands clasped tightly together as she glanced around the room. My office overlooked the entire city, sunlight reflecting off the river below. It was a view I had earned after years of sleepless nights, building a marketing firm that now employed dozens of people. For a few seconds, we simply stared at each other. Then Diane's eyes dropped to the framed photo on my desk. A smiling little boy with messy brown hair. My son, Ryan's son, her grandson. Her voice cracked when she finally spoke. "Is that?" I nodded quietly. "His name is Oliver." She sank slowly into the chair across from me, her face pale. That was when she told me the truth. After Ryan left, his life spiraled in ways she never expected. Failed jobs, broken relationships. Eventually, he disappeared completely, leaving her alone and struggling financially after a series of bad investments. Months earlier, she had discovered through mutual friends that I had started a successful company, and that I was raising Oliver on my own. As she spoke, her confident tone from years ago was gone. In its place was something fragile, regret. Finally, she looked up at me with watery eyes and whispered words I never thought I would hear from her. Amelia, I made a terrible mistake. The room went quiet. Outside the window, the city buzzed with life. But inside my office, the years between us felt heavy. Part of me remembered the cold porch, the falling snow, the fear of being alone. But another part of me looked at the life I had built, my son, my career, the peace I had found, and realized something surprising. I didn't feel anger anymore, just distance. I leaned back in my chair and said calmly, "You didn't believe in me back then." She nodded slowly, tears sliding down her cheeks. "I know." After a long pause, I stood up and walked to the window. "But my son deserves to know his family," I said softly. Diane's head lifted in shock. It wasn't forgiveness exactly. It was something simpler, moving forward. Because sometimes the greatest victory isn't revenge. It's proving you can build a life stronger than the people who once tried to break you. Later that evening, as Oliver and I walked home under the golden glow of sunset, I realized that little boy had become the reason I survived everything. And if this story resonated with you, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, because stories like this remind us that even the darkest chapters can lead to unexpected strength. And I genuinely love to know where you're watching from. So tell me your country or city in the comments below, because somewhere out there, someone might be standing in their own storm tonight, and they deserve to know that one day, the door that closed on them might be the very thing that leads them to a better life.